and he takes a single hand and just grabs the deer's throat.
Like the iron claw.
Yes, he iron clawed this deer's throat and squeezes, and he's like, "Arr!" And then the poor deer starts flopping around, and it's like, and then the deer passes out, but it's not dead yet.
Oh no!
And he goes,
"You just gotta crush the windpipe."
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
Criminal charges with you, bro.
Guess we're avoiding the shark.
No, today, Turbo Neck guy?
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast, episode 47, where we collect experiences as badges, memories as treasures, and stories as wealth. In this episode, we tell tales of mosh pits at the high school dance, oranging, and the deer blood story. Buckle up, let's dive in.
"Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast."
What's your name, kid?
So today we have on Barrett Slagle.
Hi, everyone.
And then we have on Alex Vollmann.
Hello, hello.
So Barrett, talk about what you do.
Currently run a stop motion animation production house in Los Angeles, and we work on concert visuals, television shows, any kind of media content that involves animation.
So you basically work at the circus, right? That's what you tell people?
Yeah, absolutely, because the type of animation we do, it requires a very specific type of personality. And so I get to deal with all sorts of people that I love, and it's never boring.
There you go. And Alex, how do we all know each other?
Going way back. Well, I know Barrett because he is my wife's brother. So he's my brother-in-law. And then Spencer and I know each other from film school.
Yep. And then, of course, when I got connected with Barrett, we've just seen each other around at Alex and Michaelin's barbecues and all that stuff.
That's right.
Yep.
Been to church together, hung out, and it's just super cool what you're doing. I just got to take a tour of the Open the Portal studio. That's the production company you have out here in LA. Super cool stuff. So we're going to get into all of that. But why don't we start at the beginning? You've got some crazy stories. We're going to talk about homeschooling in the 90s.
Yeah, you've forgotten the 80s. Yeah, you forget the 80s.
Homeschooling in the 90s, it was still kind of fresh and new. It wasn't as hip as it is now. We were always the weirdo kids.
The oyster kids, if you will.
That's for another time.
It's a little later, yeah.
It was punk rock. I mean, we would climb trees,
that kind of stuff.
It was just different. There was a whole year where my mom was pregnant with my sibling Javen that I don't think we did any schooling, like at all. Like there was no schooling happening because my mom was so pregnant. And I would just kind of play my Nintendo.
It's definitely on your own time. Yeah, homeschooling's definitely on your own time.
I'm pretty sure I missed a year.
Skipped a year.
Yeah, I skipped a year. It definitely made our family a lot closer, and that much I appreciated.
Talk about the time your chess teacher fled the country. I read the link that you sent, bro.
Yeah.
Some deep dives on Reddit and Discord and everything. That's wild.
That one sounded pretty crazy. I don't think I've heard that one before.
I did some sports. I did baseball. And then I realized that there was this game called chess where I didn't have to run. And I was like, ooh, I like that sport a little bit better.
Just skipped golf, went straight to chess.
Yeah, even golf, you got to walk around a lot,
yeah.
hit a thing. I was like, I get to just sit and kick someone's, like... at chess. And my folks found a chess club. Honestly loved it, and it was challenging. And then we had chess tournaments where I would go and like play other kids and get trophies, very active thing. And then one day my parents, I don't know what possessed them to do this, but they asked one of their friends who was a police officer, hey, can you like check out this chess teacher guy, that my kid's like hanging out with a lot? Police officer friend got back to them and basically said, hey, so I can't really give you details, but I would probably pull him from the program.
Pull out! Whoa.
So I no longer went to chess club, and I didn't find out till I was an adult, where I started, just was curious, went down the Reddit forums. Turns out this guy was on America's Most Wanted.
Whoa.
Yeah, full on. And fled the country.
For what?
Well, he was diddling little kids.
Oh, shoot.
You know. Luckily,
You were not one to
I was
be
not
diddled.
one of those to be diddled.
Oh,
Dang.
man. That's crazy, dude. You dodged
That's
a bullet.
intense.
I sure did.
Like the Matrix up in here, dodging bullets, dude.
I don't know how rated R this podcast is. I think he's in prison currently.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he should be.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. On to the next story. How do we transition out of that?
Yeah, there's not really a good transition out of that.
What happened in Little League?
Oh, and when I played baseball before chess, I was not a great baseball player, but I really loved playing baseball. And for whatever reason, my last year of playing, I was on a very good team. And we got all the way up to the finals. And it was like a fight, and we were going back and forth. And we ended up winning that game. And the pitcher, you know, again, 9, 10 years old, was so pissed. He lost the game. You could see it on his eyeballs. And at the end of each game, you know, in Little League, you go through and high five each other in a row, like a line, like a snake.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, this kid singled me out. And I'm just going through the line like, da 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 da, happy we won. And he just takes his fist and just punches me right in the freaking nose. Ooh. And I instantly hit the ground, more confused than hurt. Like, ah! Like I was just like, what happened? Like what? And so I went home and we put a stake on my black eye, as one does.
Ooh.
I feel like they only do that in movies.
No, that's a real thing.
That must be a homeschool in the 90s
They
thing.
got it
That's
from-
definitely a homeschool in the
They got it
90s
from the
thing.
homeschool moms.
Yeah. Let's talk about mosh pits at the high school dance.
Finally went to my first dance, and even the girl that I went with was like, I didn't really know her. She had to invite me because I was homeschooled to get into the dance. So we just kind of like paired each other off so we could all go to the same dance. And I just did not like the dance. I was, 13 years old, heavily into punk rock music. And, it was fun hanging with my friends. But all of a sudden, they started playing like a punk song at the dance. I think it was Sum 41, actually. And it was a
nice.
song called Fat Lip.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yes,
Nice.
that was the song. And all the kids kind of started moshing. You
You
know,
were like, yes, I could get in on this.
Right. So I was like, oh, I know how to do this. So I just dive into that mosh pit and I'm going. And as I'm going, I see these scared, like, 2 little girls, like, hanging out in the middle of the mosh pit.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, grab them, and I'm trying to pull them out of the pit, kind of bring them to safety. And this guy comes and elbows me right in the nose. And blood just starts splattering all over the floor and the girls and everywhere. And so I kind of, like, went back to my table, and everyone was just like, what happened to you?
Oh, gosh.
But I used to love mosh pits. That was what we did back in the day. We would just go to Chain Reaction every Friday night, and there was always a punk band playing. That's how we got all that angst out, is we would just hit each other.
Just went berserk on him.
Yeah. Love it, dude. Chain Reaction's the best place for that.
Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about.
Talk about the deer blood story.
Oh boy, the deer blood story.
Warning, entering graphic territory in 3, 2, 1.
So I'm from Texas. Things are a little different in Texas than they are in California, in case you haven't noticed. So when I was 14 years old, we were at our family farm. This is a place called Monkstown. The population is 50 people. There's nothing around. There's literally a road called Telephone Road because that was the only telephone in town. You had to take your horse and go to the drugstore to use the telephone.
Wow.
Like a payphone.
It was like a payphone. Yeah, that was like
Nice.
And so every Thanksgiving, we actually would hold a full-on legit hootenanny. My grandpa on his deathbed had all of his 9 sons and 2 daughters all sitting around, and he was like,
Make sure you all get together every Thanksgiving and keep the family together.
and then he died.
Game over.
So every Thanksgiving, the entire family would get together in this tiny, tiny, tiny little farmhouse, and they all played music. They would all bring banjos and fiddles and violins and mandolins, and we would just play old-timey bluegrass tunes. And that's actually how I learned a lot of rhythm guitar. So the Deer Blood story starts when we were going to this farm. One of my uncles hit a deer on the way, but showed up at the farm to grab some stuff because they needed to go back and take care of this deer. So me and my brother were like, well, we'll go with you. So it was me and my uncle and my brother and my cousin. We pile into this truck and we're like driving down this dark highway. And then finally we find this like
Huge deer.
he said it was the biggest female deer he had ever seen. And this guy's a hunter, you know,
Whoa.
he does this regularly. So this poor deer is kind of like on its deathbed on the side of the road. And he tries to kind of like put it out of its misery. And it's not working. It takes all of us. We all grab the deer, get it into the back of the truck to take it back to the farm, right? So we roll up to a hootenanny. So everyone's excited. So everyone curls around.
Can you define a hootenanny?
Yeah, so a hootenanny is just it's an event where people just hang out and play music and drink beer.
Gotcha.
I think that's what it is.
Just a Friday night.
It's just a Friday night in Texas. So we come back and my whole family's there and all the kids and everyone is like crowded around the bed of this truck with this poor dying deer in it. The deer is still alive. And the kids are poking at it. Big old guy Bob comes up, has a beer in his hand, and goes,
What's going on over here?
And we're just like, oh, it's this deer and it's still alive and we need to put it out of its misery. And he goes,
I'll show you how to kill a deer.
and he takes a single hand and just grabs the deer's throat.
Like the Iron Claw.
Yes, he iron clawed this deer's throat and squeezes, and he's like, "Arrgh!" And then the poor deer starts flopping around, and it's like, "Arrgh!" And then the deer passes out, but it's not dead yet.
Oh no!
It's still not dead yet, and he goes.
You just gotta crush the windpipe.
So he grabs it again and starts squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and he can't kill this deer.
Oh man!
Right? So then, finally, the more seasoned folks come by, and they're like, okay, we got to do this properly. So they come, and we grab the deer, and we tie it up upside down on a tree. And this is the most humane way to do it, is you tie it up upside down, and you just slit the throat, and all the blood just instantly falls out. So we're at a hootenanny, and we got a deer, so what else do? You skin the deer, and you eat the deer. So that's what we did that weekend.
Venison.
Yeah.
Hootenanny.
Hootenanny deer meat.
So Thanksgiving came to you.
It did. Long story short, I was in high school. This is the conclusion. This is why we call it the Deer Blood story, is I was wearing a pair of Converse, and a lot of that blood got on those Converse. Right? So I go back, and everyone's
white
like,
part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
white part of the Converse. And so I'm jamming with my band. They're like, Barrett, what's on your shoe? In the most nonchalant voice possible, I was like, oh, it's just deer blood. And they were just like, wait, what? Please tell us this story. Why do you have deer blood on your shoe? I didn't even realize how far this legend permeated, but on my wedding day, my best man recanted this tale.
It was
Nice.
pretty great.
Do you remember hearing that,
I
Alex?
remember hearing that. Yeah, yeah, it was awesome.
So talk about the 90s punk scene at Chain Reaction.
Oh gosh, I was very excited to talk about this. We could even add a Christian view to this. This will all tie together, right?
Here's a list, by the way.
Oh, feed it to me. I like the way we're doing it.
Okay.
So back in the 90s,
Yeah, you've forgotten the 80s. Yeah, you forget the 80s.
There's deja vu.
right? You go to church and there's like bad church music.
Shots fired.
It wasn't great church music.
Yeah, Spencer and I both
Yeah.
just looked at each other like,
We know. We know about
this.
that.
I do have a good case for Our God is an Awesome God. I still think that is a great tune.
Okay, but How He Loves Us, are you a unforeseen kiss kind of guy or a sloppy wet kiss
Ooh.
kind of guy?
I'm not sure I understand this question.
There are two versions of the song.
Yeah. How he loves us. Oh, how he loves us. And it's like heaven meets earth like an unforeseen kiss.
Right,
Heaven meets earth like a sloppy, wet kiss.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah. So what kind of man are you?
I don't know, dude.
Are you an unforeseen kiss, take her by surprise, or are you a sloppy wet?
Don't answer it, Barrett. Don't answer it. It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Yeah. But yeah, so 90s punk scene was interesting because we had bad Christian music, and I just found a couple of Christian punk bands that were doing like something that was loud and aggressive, but had this spiritual lyrical content that was amazing. And it just like awoken something in me.
Which bands?
In particular, the one that comes to mind, there's a band called Officer Negative. And I mean, they were pulling from like Sex Pistols and all these like classic old 70s punk bands with like, they were tatted up, they smelled like garbage. You could barely hear the lyrics, but it was fast and loose and hard and everything you want it to be. And I found at Chain Reaction, they would do these punk shows. And every Friday that I was at these punk shows. You would get on stage and it was just filled with all kinds of smelly people. And you just go in and you didn't care because everyone was there for one reason. And you just loved the music and you just wanted to get something out. And that was like how we did it. We would just create these mosh pits and just kind of hit each other. But it was also weird because it was oddly respectful, right? Because you were hitting on each other, but like some guy's down, you're picking him up. And then you go and you hit another guy, and then you go and then you pick another guy up. And it was like we were all kind of there for the same reason in this oddly respectful, violent way.
I understand it, bro. Not much has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet.
I love it.
Yeah.
So talk about the things in high school you did instead of doing drugs.
Yeah, being a Christian kid, you're not doing drugs, and you got to get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a rite of passage. It's just not everyone has to do it, I guess, but
it's
a lot
to
of
the
us
degree
do.
of trouble. What degree of trouble do you get into?
Sure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we had a ritual we called Yeah, so we lived in Orange County. So there's tons of orange groves. So we would all pile into my buddy's van at midnight and go and steal tons of oranges from these like orange groves and fill them up in the bags. And then we'd find desolate roads where there wasn't a lot of cops. And we would just drive 100 miles an hour down the road and hang out the window and start chucking oranges at signs, at not people, but anything an orange could hit was probably hit by an orange. And I'll tell you, man, when you're in high school and you're flying 100 miles an hour down a van with the wind at your face, and you throw that orange and it connects with the sign, you can taste the orange splatter on your tongue.
Yeah, there's nothing like
That's
it.
a good feeling.
Yeah.
When you feel that orange connect.
That sounds like a Spencer Whiteout scene. Like I can see
In a
that
movie,
in one of his movies.
Yeah, definitely. Oranging. Well, I have a scene called Snowballing where they're like lining up snowballs on this bank, and then the cars are driving by, and then the characters hop up and use hockey sticks and swat these snowballs, and then they hit the cars and stuff. It's like, same kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And I went duct taping.
Yes, we did that too.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
you
we
know
did.
about that?
Absolutely.
Dude, you're the first person that knows about that.
Oh, I know duct taping.
So you went duct taping.
Oh, yes, we did.
Talk about that.
Actually, I would love you to describe it.
Okay, so on my 18th birthday, I was still 17.
Maybe 17, maybe 18.
And it was like 11:30 at night, and we were going duct taping. Kevin's great idea of, okay, we're going to go to like an abandoned kind of road with a stop sign, and then we're going to take duct tape and we're going to
sticky
side up, lay it on the ground, and then when the cars would come to the stop, they would roll over the duct tape. It would stick, and then as they picked up speed again, it would go.
And it sounded like they had a flat tire
dude.
and wrap around their freaking axle. As an adult, I'm like, that is my worst
looking back, I'm like, oh, that's actually really bad. But we didn't think about that. We didn't think about the axle part when we were doing it.
Of course not.
And so we did that, and like most of the cars do, because it was so late at night, these cars wouldn't even stop for the stop sign, so it wouldn't catch. We're like, And I think we got one or two cars before 6 cop cars showed up. Dude, Grass Valley, there's nothing for these cops to be doing. You know?
So
they all show up and they all light us up.
They got to make a big deal out of it.
Oh, yeah. They got to scare us. And they're like, hey, you know, and then Roman literally dove under the van and hid underneath the car, so he never got caught. And then they're all like, ooh, here's 18. And I was the oldest. And I looked at my phone. It was like 11:58. So I still wasn't 18 yet. And we're all like, oh, nobody, we're not. And I said that with a clean conscience. None of us were 18. We're all minors. And they just gave us a big lecture. And Kevin was able to sweet talk his way out of it. And we basically got out of there unscathed. But it was a little anticlimactic because it was like we wanted to get more. And we only got a couple. And then the cops got called on us. And like, it was kind of intense. Like, you know, you're young and you have that many cops show up. And you're thinking like, are we going to get in trouble, get tickets, get busted? Like, it was kind of intense. But it was a good story now looking back.
It was dirty cops.
That's great. Well, you got to be careful because it gets out of hand, right? This is what happened to us is like you start with that and then it's no longer fun. So you got to up the ante, right?
Yeah.
So we would like collected a bunch of halogen light bulbs, you know, like the long
tubes that shatter.
Yeah, they shatter, you know, and we'd like put those in the road.
Oh, man.
Here's a funny story. But his name is it was
classified.
Like, classified. It was like my dad had a buddy of his at a Bible study and he's like, hey, this guy, this is like his grandson, and you know, he's living with them. He doesn't have any friends, and can you guys like hang out with him?
One of those friends,
right?
Oh man.
So we collect this individual and he introduces himself as Wigger J. Because he was like a white dude, but like
wanted to be black.
Oh man.
And he was like a full-on Wigger. That was how he introduced himself. And
that's so funny.
We took him oranging.
Oh yeah.
We totally did. And somehow things got out of hand and he took a pineapple and threw it through a window.
You're like whoa,
it's orange.
Going through a pineapple. Yeah, you can't bring
That's
pineapples
another
to
sport
this.
altogether, my dude.
Luckily, no one lived in the house. They were just selling it. But I do remember that.
What did you guys say to him? Just like, whoa,
we're just
bro,
like, dude, you can't
be
do
doing
that.
I just imagine some real estate agent finding the pineapple and being like,
see,
what is that?
Dude, that's the best part about
dude, we're creating stories for other people. You know, that's part of it.
I know, man.
Just how strange. You know, like a pineapple
that's
of
true.
all things.
Yes, that's
like it's not just like a rock or something. You know, like no threatening message. It's just some pineapple that busted through the window.
Threatening message.
Yeah. What's the sign?
SpongeBob.
What does it mean?
SpongeBob is coming to kill you.
Right.
Okay, so you studied music in college. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've been around music my entire life and studied music theory since I was probably 7 or 8. When I got to college, I was taking some classes at a junior college. I wanted to be a composer, so I wanted to take some music theory classes. And for whatever reason, they made me take the intro music theory class, like the most basic one. And I told them, I was like, guys, would rather do a more advanced one. And they just said, sorry, we can't do it because of this and that and, you know, blue tape and bureaucracy. And
it was all bullshit.
Blue tape, not red tape?
Yeah.
Well, it's even harder.
It's even harder.
Yeah, red tape is the easy stuff.
But so anyway, it was an intro music to theory class. And they had a rule, I don't know if they did this at y'all's college, where it was like, hey, if the professor isn't there in 15 minutes, y'all can just bail.
Oh, I think so.
I don't know. Did they have like a rule like that?
That happened once.
Did that happen to you?
Once, yeah.
I don't know if that ever happened to me.
Everyone's all looking up like, who's going to be the first one to get up and go?
Yeah.
And I stand up. I'm like, I'm out of here. Middle fingers in the sky. No.
I was like, I'm paying for this, so whatever happens, man. You want to teach the class? Like,
well, what happened?
So that's what happened was I showed up to the class about 15 minutes late. I'm just already kind of didn't want to be there. And I noticed that 15 minutes had gone by The school office was just a couple doors down. So I go over there and I'm like, hey, this is the first day of class. The professor's not there. Like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, that got moved. Can you just go in and tell everyone that class is moved? I don't take any credit for this, but I saw the movie Catch Me If You Can.
Yes, dude. Yes.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. So I was like, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, you had stones of steel then to do this.
Well, it was funny too because at the time I loved like English literature. I even had like a jacket with elbow patches.
Nice.
Gay! And I carried around a briefcase. I was the weird homeschool kid in college, you know? And so I kind of looked like I kind of belonged.
Yeah.
So I just like marched right up to the front. And so I just wrote my name on the board and just started teaching them about music scales and basic stuff for a good hour.
Good hour?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was about an hour. And then I wrapped up and then just never went back.
Yes.
So all those guys probably went back the next week and they're like, what happened?
That's epic.
Wait, why didn't you go back?
Because I didn't want to be in that class.
You just dropped it?
Yeah. I just stuck with my music production classes. And it was funny because my intro to music production class was fairly helpful. But the next year, the whole assignment was you get to finally go into the recording studio. And for the whole semester, you go and find and record and produce one song with an artist. At that time, I was already producing full albums for artists.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, I don't really need to be here.
Yeah.
You know, and my band was like, we were going on tour and I really kind of just bailed on college altogether.
Okay, but how exhilarating was it when you were up there teaching? And like, were you just improvising as it went? Like, what were you thinking in the moment?
I was just having fun with them. You know, I'd be like, what is music?
Do you think any of them caught on?
No, because I was stern with them. You know, I was like, hey, we're going to sit. We're going to be quiet. We're going to do this right now. You know,
watch. That was the best day of class they ever had.
It probably was.
Probably,
probably.
Probably was. I taught them some fun stuff.
It's over now.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. Be sure to follow me on social medias at Spencer Whiteout to stay up to date. Also check out Barrett's animation production company at Open the Portal. As always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
Inserting exclusive audio recording from the vault.
Yeah, you've forgotten the 80s. Yeah, you forget the 80s. Don't forget it.
I've said that to people, dude, and they were like...
They don't understand.
They don't understand, dude. They don't understand what that did for mankind.
People aren't pioneers of their own brains, you know.
It's gonna be a fun one.
But you and me are. We
pioneers of our own brain.
And that's it.